Hello, and thank you once again for watching another installment of The Lord's Been Kind. The Lord's Been Kind is a special and a unique show. It's kind of more of a, it's not your typical how we here at Israel, the Church of Jesus, do our Bible lessons where you typically have a reader and a teacher. It's more like a discussions. Um, and it's kind of, the way we format it is we try to get a little deeper than the normal classes that we do. On the side subjects. What I mean by that is because we also have another show of the Bible in plain view, and those are more simpler classes, kind of just touching the surface. So today, I got Brother Arthur with us, and I got Brother Ira. These are two of the teachers here in the Philadelphia Israel Church of Jesus location. And what we're going to deal with is one of those subjects that is real popular, I would say, in the not just the Hebrew community, but it is in Hebrew community, but it's also popular with theologians. A lot of the, I remember I used to watch this dude named Pastor Shepherd. I don't know if y'all ever heard of him.
Pastor Murray on Shepherd Chapel.
Yeah, that's what it is. I just call him
too.
Pastor Shepherd. Yeah, but he'd be in the book though. He'd be in the book, but he would say when he get to a certain part in the Bible that angels slept with men. Man, and then they make movies and just all type of different theologies about angels sleeping with men. Well, what we're gonna show you today as we chop it up that's not the case. Angels and men, they can't cohabitate.
Right.
So before we well, I guess one thing I would like to do before we get started is, or when we get started, is just to show y'all what scripture that they grabbing that from. But after that, we'll kind of get into the book a little bit and show clearly that that's not the case. But Genesis chapter 6 is where they get this from, and this is before the great flood. And the thing about the book of Genesis, this book is written in the days of Moses. So all this stuff already happened. So it's really a storyteller telling the story. Now, so go ahead and pick it up at Genesis chapter 6 and start reading verse 1, somebody.
And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. And yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown.
Okay, so this is pretty much where this story takes place, and we'll get into some detail about it. But and this is where it's saying that angels slept with men and they had powerful or mighty children. What I'm gonna read one other scripture. Let's go to you got it on your paper. 2 Peter. And when I hear this angel sleeping with men, what I hear is I hear mythology. And, I thought you had it on your paper.
2 Peter 2.
Yeah, but false teachers among us bringing it down. Yep. No, I want the one when it says fables. I think that's the title.
No, that's 2 Timothy 4.
Nah. Let's see.
Let me turn under fables.
No, when it say Jewish fables. And that,
no. Titus chapter 1.
That's what,
verse.
That's what I want. So the thing is, this whole notion that people can sleep with men, angels can sleep with men, it's a form of mythology. And a lot of people don't understand that Jews had a mythology. And
Word.
Right. And that this, like there's a writing out there, the book of Enoch. And in the book of Enoch, you see, they show a lot of stuff that happens before the flood, and you see this angel sleeping with people there. And, people run with that book. But Titus, let's start it at verse What chapter we said it was?
Titus 1 is around verse 14.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
that
yeah. Not
area.
giving. Yeah, yeah. So let's start at verse 10. Titus 1 and 10.
I ain't gonna make it.
For there are many unruly and vain talkers and deceivers, especially they of the circumcision, whose mouths must be stopped, who subvert whole houses, teaching things which they ought not, for filthy lucre's sake.
So there is a doctrine that's going on during this time period that you know, what they deceiving people with, you know, vain doctrine going on. Let's skip down to verse 14.
Not giving heed to Jewish fables.
So Jewish fables or Jewish lies or Jewish mythologies. Go ahead.
And commandments of men that turn from the truth.
Now I want to show. I got these mythology books here, and one of them is the Ultimate Encyclopedia of Mythology. That's what this is. So when you read this book here, and they got all the gods and all the mythological people. So here's what it says about Hercules. Hercules, the son of Zeus, and alchemy, was the greatest of all the Greek heroes. To the Romans, he was known as Hercules, and they added various encounters in Italy to his alleged large circle of adventures. The name Hercules means hero's glory, a circumstance that firmly tries the hero of Argo. And it goes on, but basically, because Zeus needs a mortal champion in the forthcoming battles between gods and the giants, he fathered Hercules at the court of Thebes. Now, Hercules is a spiritual, is a son of a spiritual being and a flesh and blood being.
Right.
And when you see what Hercules is, he's a giant, basically. He's a powerful man who nobody could beat and all this. And this is the same thing that the Israelites take when they say angels sleep with men. Because what the Bible shows us, and what we're going to look at a little bit, is that the angels, they like the gods. That's what the Bible speak of. So, and really when you get into the Bible, the things that the Greeks show the gods doing, the angels do it. You know what I mean? So it's just another form, because when you start talking about mythology, you got Egyptian, you got Roman, Greek, and it just keep getting passed on the same story. So the reality is, when you say angels sleep with men, that's the same story as Zeus sleeping with alchemy or whatever and making Hercules. Same thing. So at any rate, brother Ira, I know I see you got some scriptures on there too, so I said you weren't gonna be able to get none on men, but I'll see if you can. What you got for us as far as angels sleeping with men and the mythology behind it?
Man, well, when you brought us up with Pastor Murray, well, this guy, he actually brought me into that thought process that, you know, it was giants or whatever. But when I got some understanding, I mean, I was like, man, you know, and I understood that God made everything, every seed in its own kind, and that men wasn't supposed to, you know, men are here just to procreate so that we could become like God. We're not made in the image of angels, you know what I mean, but we're made in the image of God, and God is a spirit, and he don't have to have no blood like that. So what I was thinking with this is, you know, the scriptures should be what we all go to, you know what I mean, so we can get past all that fables and malarkey, you know what I'm saying? And I just had a couple of scriptures down there, if you don't mind me reading one, you know what I mean? When we went to Genesis chapter 6 already, you know, I know in Matthew, it's dealing with something, Matthew 22, the scriptures is dealing, the Sadducees came to Jesus trying to tempt him, and they asked him a question dealing with this whole certain thing. And Jesus is going to flip it on them and let them know, like, listen, you err not knowing the scriptures and not knowing the power of God. But it's right on the same subject. Just pick it up at Matthew 22 and pick it up at verse 23 somewhere.
The same day came to him the Sadducees, which say that there is no resurrection, and asked him, saying, Master, Moses said if a man die having no children, his brother should marry his wife.
Right, and that's in the law. You know, people don't understand that you know that was a custom that Israel had when someone was married to someone and the man died without no seed. Then he had a brother. Then the brother was supposed to take the wife. This may seem strange today, but this is law, and this is what God had in order.
Custom. I'm like, that's a law.
That's a law, right? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? But this is what God put in order. But at any rate, they're going to try to trip Christ up on this question. But it's dealing with the exact same thing right here because they're dealing with spiritual beings. You know what I mean? And when you die, it's over with. It's going to be something else totally different. But go ahead, brother, keep reading.
Say, Master, Moses said, if a man die having no children, his brother should marry his wife and raise up seed unto his brother.
Go ahead.
Now there were with us 7 brethren. And the first, when he had married a wife, deceased, and having no issue, left his wife unto his brother.
Mm-hmm.
Likewise the second also, and the third unto the 7th. And last of all, the woman died also. Therefore, in the resurrection, whose wife shall she be of the 7? For they all had her.
Now, peep what Jesus is saying, because they still thinking in this carnal mind, like after you die, we're going to still be operating in the way that we operate here in this earth. And that's not the case.
They don't even believe that.
Exactly.
Like because I remember early in the chapter, which said there is no resurrection. They don't even believe in the resurrection.
Yeah,
you
but they're trying to trip them up, you know what I mean? But peep what Jesus say after this, though. Go ahead.
Jesus answering and said unto them, you do err, not knowing the scriptures nor the power of God. For in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are as angels of God in heaven.
So understand this. That should kill the whole thing right there. You know what I mean? When somebody talk about angels dealing with mankind, you know what I mean? It's not that type of party for them. But people, next verse, bro.
But as touching the resurrection of the dead, have you not read that which was spoken unto you by God, saying, I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. God is not the God of the dead, but of the living.
Understand this. And Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they had been dead, but understand in the greater scheme of things, they're going to live again. So that they just had a temporary pause in life, you know what I mean? But they're going to be living, and he called them the God of the living. And when they resurrect, we don't operate like that. We're going to be just as God, you know what I mean? So the procreation is for mankind and for us to replenish this earth. But when we resurrect, we don't even operate like that, and the angels don't operate like that.
Now, I was told, and Art, you might can address this a little bit, but I was told that it said in that passage, for in the resurrection they neither are married nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of God in heaven. And so what I was told by a Jewish Israelite philosopher, I would say, is that the fallen angels can do it, but the angels in heaven don't do it. But the fallen angels can. And so that scripture wouldn't count for that. Now I understand. I understand. I understand what this is saying clearly.
No, say that again.
Right.
That okay. So when you read this,
I got you.
right,
I got you.
Because it says,
Angels in
but
heaven.
it says, for in the resurrection they neither marry nor neither marry, and this is a good scripture because when he say marry, like, and I had an argument with this brother down in Alabama because we use that term wrong, marriage, because actually a marriage is a union of two.
Mm-hmm.
So, because one of the issues that we have amongst the Israel community is when you sleep with somebody, you marry. And the reality is that's a true statement.
It is.
But we use the word marriage wrong. Marriage is a union. Now, does it make you husband and wife once you lie down together? It's another question. Mm-hmm. And the answer is no. Now you have to do what's necessary to be husband or wife.
Or to be married.
Right, but if you know what I'm saying, but if you go and look up the term marriage, it actually means to unite two things.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
So with that being said, the statement is by far wrong when you say, but even still, nonetheless, it said for in the resurrection, they neither marry. So This talking about men and women don't come together. They don't consummate, nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of God in heaven. So what the brother said to me was, the angels of God in heaven don't do this, but the fallen angels do. So brother Art, do you have anything to counter that, or?
Somebody need to read that to me. Ain't that our favorite say?
I mean,
read
yeah,
that
but you
scripture
know,
to me, or
and
make
I
it
know the
plain.
Bible is not a book of interpretations, but that, you know, that's the spin. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the spin on that. Like, I brought that scripture. You know, I bring it from Luke more times than not. You know what I'm saying? Because
Gotcha.
it say you equal unto the angel being. You know, just I like the way it's worded in Luke.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But even still, that's the spin of it. Like, bring it back to you. Like, nah, well, the fallen angels, they can come down, and like the Noah movie. Like, if you ever watched, y'all ever seen that movie?
Yeah,
Noah,
man.
the Noah's Ark joint. Well,
Yeah. The newer one, right?
yeah, the
newest
newer
one's
one.
Crazy.
Yeah, and they had the fallen and all that. You know, like the
Yeah.
they saying that these angels change form, all this crazy stuff. But what you got for me, bro?
So let's go back to it. Let's go to Genesis 6. Because this is, as you mentioned, this is where it stems from.
Yeah.
And the doctrine is false, by the way. Again, mythology, that's false right off the bat. So that's a man's imagination, right? So let's read this. Genesis 6:1 again. Go ahead, somebody.
And it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them.
So men, right? And
Yeah.
say, men begin to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them. Okay, I guess them the humans, right?
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
That the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair.
Right. So now I guess these supposed to be the angels, right? But
Yeah.
now, right, the holy angels don't do that, right?
Right.
So now we dealing with the fallen angels.
Right.
Okay, let's see. Go
Okay.
ahead.
And they took them wives of all which they chose.
That's all. That's good. That's good. No, matter of fact, skip down to verse 4 because they apply this to
There
it
were
as well.
giants. Right, that's why I pulled out the Hercules joint. And there were giants in the earth in those days. And also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown.
Right. So they really fall on this, saying this how we got giants, right? The fallen angels slept with women, and we got giants. Now we know angels don't die. That's the whole purpose of the lake of fire, right? Everlasting torment and punishment, because they can't die, right? The spirit doesn't die, but your soul does. They don't have souls either. They're just spirits, right? So now let's run the numbers 13, real quick. Numbers 13. And then we're going to make it real simple after this. Numbers 13. And this is when children of Israel were supposed to spy out the land they Canaan, you know, the land flowing with milk and honey, right? So let's read verse 25. Go ahead.
And they returned from searching of the land after 40 days. And they went and came to Moses and to Aaron and to all the congregation of the children of Israel unto the wilderness of Paran, to Kadesh, and brought back word unto them and unto all the congregation, and showed them the fruit of the land.
Verse 28.
Nevertheless, the people.
Now these is people.
Right.
If angels slept with women, angels slept with women, right? They would be angels, wouldn't they? Because the seed passed through the male,
Right.
and
Right.
all angels. Ain't no disagreement or argument on if the angels are male or not, because you go to Ezekiel 1 and tell you plain and simple, they all have the image of a man.
Like Hercules.
Right.
That's why he got all that power, because he his daddy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Same as the other one, the Clash of the Titans. He the son. Zeus got kids all over the place
Right.
in their mythology.
Right.
And that was what that movie was about. Like, hey, you need to take your godship, and he like, no, I'm gonna do this as a man. I'm not gonna use my powers. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, the male carries the seed. So
Right.
then, if angels sleeping with people, then you would be a son of an angel.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or a son of God. That's what they would call you.
You would be a son of God, wouldn't you?
Right.
So who we reading about? It says, nevertheless, the people, verse 28, go ahead.
He said, nevertheless, the people be strong that dwell in the land, and the cities are walled and very great. And moreover, we saw the children of Anak there. And the Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, and in the Hittites, and the Jebusites, and the Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea, and by the coast of Jordan.
What did he say? What Caleb say? Go ahead.
And Caleb stilled the people before Moses and said, let us go up at once and possess it, for we are able to overcome it.
We are able to overcome it. And they not just saying they're going to put them in slavery. No. If we go to Deuteronomy 7, he tell you kill them all. So how you going to kill? Matter of fact, we're going to get to it. Read 32. Go ahead.
And they brought up an evil report of the land which they had searched unto the children of Israel, saying, the land through which we have gone to search it is a land that eateth all the inhabitants thereof, and all the people that we saw in it are men of a great stature.
What is this great stature? Go ahead.
And there we saw the giants.
Wait a minute. So they're going to overcome these giants or kill these giants? How can you kill a giant if he's a son of God?
Right.
Or a son of an angel? How can you do that? So we getting somewhere. Obviously, what we think are angels may not be angels.
That's right.
Matter of fact, let's go to John chapter 8 and let's see how to determine whose son you a son of who.
Right.
Let's see. John chapter 8 and verse 33.
They answered him, we be Abraham's seed, and were never in bondage to any man. How sayest thou, ye shall be made free? Jesus answered them.
Skip down to verse 38. Go ahead.
I speak that which I have seen with my father, and ye do that which ye have seen with your father. They answered and said unto him, Abraham is our father. Jesus saith unto them, if ye were Abraham's children, ye would do the works of Abraham.
And Abraham, we know he a son of God, right?
That's right.
Go ahead.
But now you seek to kill me, a man that told you the truth.
Who's trying to kill? Who's been seeking to kill the Lord? We know Satan, plain and simple, trying to destroy the work of God. And this whole plan. He said, but now you seek to kill me, a man that have told you the truth. Go ahead.
Which I have heard of God. This did not Abraham. You do the deeds of your father. Then said they to him, we be not born of fornication.
Skip down to verse 44. Let's see who their father is, right?
Ye are of your father the devil.
Okay.
And the lust of your father ye will do.
Oh, so it sounds like you doing the works of your father. So if the fallen angels are following after Satan, then they couldn't be the sons of God, could they? They have to be the sons of Satan. So when we go back to Genesis 6, we should see the sons of Satan saw the daughters of men. So just to attack that real quick, we see right off the bat that's just false doctrine, as you mentioned, or you read in Titus. It's just a Jewish fable.
Yeah,
so
true.
That's my aspect as far as
kind of piggybacking with what you're saying too. When we look at Job chapter 1, 'cause
Right.
that's another place where, and let me make sure I understand what you're saying. And I do, but for argument's sake, for television's sake, whatever. So what you're saying is, based off of this John 8, these people did the works of their father. And their father, they were evil, and their father was Satan. And it's stating that.
Right.
So then, if you are a son of God, then you should do the works of God.
Right.
That is correct.
So therefore, how we gonna call them angels? How we gonna call those
Fallen
angels in Genesis 6 if they out here sleeping with women?
Right.
You basically fornicating, or even in some of the way the stories was played out, you committing adultery, because in some arenas you sleeping with other men's wives.
Right.
Like where would that play?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So again, just to make sure, and also it's a blessed are the peacemakers, for they should be called the children of God. So if you are a son, or a son and a child is the same thing. So in this case, We could even say when we go back to Genesis that them sons of God, if it would have been written in the children of God, then it would be easier to follow. Them must have been the peacemakers. You see what I'm saying? Like, because they called the sons of God. But going to Job 1, and Ira, if you don't mind, you can probably break this down for us. I'll read it. But when we look at Job chapter 1, and this is another place where it is surely angels that are sons of God. So what we really comprehended of the Bible is that when it says son of God, there needs to be a qualification.
Yes, exactly.
Hold that spot. I'm gonna show you why we're saying that too. Let's go to Hebrews 12 real quick. Hebrews 12. Because based off of Matthew chapter, and we got more scripture, but based off of Matthew 5, the peacemakers are sons of God, right? Blessed are the peacemaker, so they should be called the children of God. All right. So mankind could be a son of God, but angels could be sons of God too, though. And that's what I'm gonna need y'all really to kind of clear up, because that's probably where most of the discrepancy, comes from. So we're gonna go to Hebrews 12 and just read verse 9.
Furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh which correcteth us, and we gave them reverence. Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live?
All right, now I want us to make sure that we remember this, because I think, and I don't know, y'all brothers may hit it, but my last scripture that's in my brain that takes this all away, it falls back on that. God is a spirit, and it said He's the Father of spirits. Those spirits He's talking about are angels. You can read in other places where His angels are ministering spirits. So therefore, therefore, how can, well, we'll get that, but that we gonna go. I'm jumping in my brain now. So, but the point is, God is the Father of spirits, or He would be a Father of gods, then, okay,
Right.
and not necessarily from the aspect of men, from the aspect of angels. So this is easily proven, and we're not using this to disprove or discredit what we said. We're showing that the Bible has two levels of being a son of God.
That's correct.
All right, like Meek Mill says, levels to this. I'm in Philadelphia, so.
True.
So anyway, but so I'm gonna read it and you help us out with this.
Go ahead, bro.
There was a man, Job 1:1. There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance also was 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, 500 she-asses, and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all the men of the East. And his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning, and offered burnt offering according to the number of them all. For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continue.
All right, let's get to it right there. Now let's get to number 6.
Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them.
All right, now peep right here.
Yeah.
Now look, now it starts off, it says, now there was a day when the sons of God, right?
Uh-huh.
What we talking about here came to present themselves before the Lord, and then we have a totally other distinction. Then it says Satan was there.
Right.
Why isn't he qualified as the son of God?
Yeah.
Why didn't it say the sons of God came there, and Satan was among them?
Right.
Because Satan is disinherited from being a son of God, because he disobeyed God. Now, while we sitting in here in Job, and we got to understand that we got to qualify these sons of God. Could it be men that we're talking about here? We're going to understand that these are the angels. But while we're in Job, go to Job 38 real fast, brother.
Okay.
Because Job, the Lord allowed Satan to afflict him and his property and everything that he had. And Job didn't do anything, but he was feeling himself a little bit. And he wanted to demand an answer from the Lord. So the Lord going to come and check him out. He's getting plagued by his 3 friends also. But the Lord's going to come and ask him some questions. Now I want you to peep this out, because we're going to see before any man was even created, we're going to watch what the Lord say to Job and see about these sons of God. Pick it up at verse 38 and verse 1, brother.
Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, who is this that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I would demand of thee, and answer thou me. Where was thou when I laid the foundation of the earth?
Okay, where was you laid the foundation of the earth, Job?
Right.
If you got knowledge and you want to answer me, you want me to give you an answer. Well, you answer me this question, and then maybe I'll give you an answer if you can answer this. All right. Where was you when I laid the foundation of the earth? What else you asking?
Declare if thou hast understanding.
Keep going.
Who have laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest, or who have stretched the line upon it? Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened, or who laid the cornerstone thereof? When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy.
So now, this is the beginning. This is the foundation of the earth. No man was made now.
Right.
So now the Lord's asking them, where were you at when all the stars of God shouted together and the sons of God sang together? Now, obviously the angels was here before man was created. So now we can see that here we got the angels being called the sons of God also. All right. Now, I want to take you there because the scripture is going to prove this all out. All right. Go back to Job 1, brother. I mean, you feel what I'm saying, brother? You know what I'm saying? Because it don't need to be. Well, let's get it right here. All right, now, verse 6.
And now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord. And Satan came also among them. And the Lord said unto Satan, whence comest thou? And then Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth?
Now, understand this. I just wanted to read that part because he's walking to and fro up and down the earth. And why is he walking to and fro up and down the earth? Why is he not a son of God? Because he got kicked out, correct? Let's go to Revelation chapter 12 real fast. And we're going to show you when that happened. And we're going to go to one other place and show you that if you do not do the will of God, you are not going to be considered a son of God. You're going to be disinherited. Revelation chapter 12, and pick it up at verse 7, brother.
And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan.
So now he cast out, and the rest is the angels going to be cast out with him, correct, brother?
Yeah, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him.
Keep going.
And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now has come salvation and strength in the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night.
So now understand, he's cast out of heaven. That's why the Lord, when in Job, back in Job, he's saying, where have you come from, Satan? He don't want to go back. He wants to go back to heaven. And that's anybody that deal with him want to have that same doctrine. But he is no longer a son of God at this point. At this point, he and the rest of the angels that followed him are not sons of God. Now, why is that? Because you must do what the Lord commands you to do and be faithful to in order to become a son. Now, he didn't do that. He got cast out. He is Satan. He was Lucifer. Now, Satan, the devil. And guess what? He's not no more a son of God. Can we go over here to Luke? Is it Luke where
Luke chapter 3.
Chapter 3, yeah, where it lets
Verse
you know where
38.
all the men coming back from Adam. This is Jesus'
Okay,
lineage.
well, hold on before we do that. Okay, so let's make sure we got this right. So in Job chapter 1, when it says sons of God, this is talking about angels.
This is talking strictly about angels.
And we see a distinction in Satan and the sons of God.
That is correct.
Now, when we get to Genesis, though, it says sons of God, and we're saying that those are not angels. Although we just read in Job 1 that those are angels.
That's right.
Okay, so Art, can you explain to us how there are two different sons of God in the you find, like, because he just basically broke down a spiritual form of them. And what we saying in Genesis is that you could be a son of God and still be mankind. Mm-hmm. All right. So could you help us with that?
Yeah, being a son of God don't make you no angel.
Right.
So read this real quick. You know, yeah, read this real quick. Go to John 3. John 3, because we just read about how they appeared before the Lord. Mm-hmm. You know, and he asked him, what you doing here? You know what I mean? So obviously they wasn't on earth. If he told him he would have said, yeah, I've been here this whole time if they was on earth in that situation in Job 1. So just read John 3 and verse 13. Go ahead.
And no man have ascended up to heaven, but he that came down from heaven, even the Son of Man, which is in heaven.
And that just helps further the distinction between an angel as being the son of God and mankind being the son of God when we go to Job 1. So we see clearly them was angels. Now we're going to figure out how to determine whether those were angels in Genesis 6 or men or mankind. Mm-hmm. So let's go to, because we're going to prove that you can be a son of God and not be an angel.
Right.
So now let's go to Galatians 4. Okay. Let's go to Galatians 4.
And we'll end up probably hitting that Luke 3 at some point again. Galatians 4.
Well, it may tie into this at the end of this. Galatians 4 and 1. Go ahead.
Now I say that the heir, as long as he is a child, differeth nothing from a servant, though he be Lord of all, but is under tutors and governors until the time appointed of the Father. Mm-hmm. Even so we, when we were children, were in bondage under the elements of the world. But when the fullness of the time was come, God sent forth his Son, made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem them that were under the law.
That what?
That we might receive the adoption of sons.
And what?
And because ye are sons, God hath sent forth the Spirit of his Son into your hearts, crying, Abba, Father.
Right. So in verse 3, it says, even so, when we were children, we were in bondage under the elements of the world. But when the fullness of time was come, God sent forth his Son, right?
Yeah.
Made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem them that were under the law, that we might receive the adoption of sons. So you're going to be adopted. What does adopted mean? To be adopted in someone's family you weren't initially in. So as Christ, who is the Son of God, and if Christ is the Son of God, what would that make Christ? It would make him God, right?
But now, okay, so this happens before, while you here in the flesh?
While you here in the flesh.
Okay.
Now it's going to happen spiritually. This adoption, and that's a great question. This adoption here takes place up here first.
Yes.
And then you will get that physical translation or transition. Let's go see it, though. That's a great question. Let's go see it clearly in Romans chapter 8. Just to tell you everything you need to know. Mm-hmm. Romans chapter 8 and verse 19. No, you're a little far. Mm-hmm. Romans 8 and verse 5. Go ahead.
For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit.
Right. So read Romans 7 and 14.
For yeah, you can get it.
For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, soul under sin.
Right. So if I follow the law, which is spiritual, that's going to make me spiritual.
Right.
No. And if I'm doing the works of God, that would make me spiritually the son of God.
That's right.
But I ain't made that physical transition yet.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like on the counter, if you're doing what Satan do based off of John 8,
right?
Then you're gonna be doing the works of your father.
Right.
So then you would be a son of Belial or the son of Satan.
Right. So we excluding the fallen angels being anywhere, we excluding them as a whole. They can't never be no sons of God. That gave that up in Revelation 12 as he had written. So now we see another spiritual, because he said, for we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal. So to understand, we carnal, but if we follow something spiritual, that's going to make us spiritual. Now we're going to come right back to Romans 8 and 5 again. Hit that again.
For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit.
Right, and you follow something that's spiritual, what's that? You're going to become spiritual. And he gonna tell you, read the next verse. Right.
For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Mm-hmm. Because the carnal mind is enmity against God. For it is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed can be. So then they that are in the flesh cannot please God.
So we talking about fleshly human beings.
beings,
But if you walk after the flesh, the works of Satan, that's his go-to. If we go to Matthew 4:4, Luke 4:4, when he tempted Christ, it was all some physical stuff for the flesh, right? So now we seeing these spiritual things. He said, verse 6, for to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace, because the carnal mind is enmity against God. That means you hate God.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you have a carnal mind, you hate God. So you couldn't be no son of God, right?
Right.
For it is not subject to the law of God. That's how important the law is. You don't keep the law of God. Well, we see in it that you hate God. So you couldn't be a son of God if you do not keep the law of God.
That's right.
So now,
It's funny though, like,
right?
you know, you try to keep the commandments, and you around somebody that's not, and to be enmity between the two of y'all.
Right.
And it's like, well, it ain't hate you. It ain't, you don't hate me like you said. You really hate God.
Right.
Or like them chicks be singing "Mary, Mary." It's the God in me. I mean,
Yeah,
and,
right.
you know, and
That's what it
I
is,
do
too.
that. I'm gonna tell y'all why I do that a lot. Go back to songs and movies. As a teacher, is what we are. What I try to do is give somebody a reference point that they know, and that's already programmed in their mind, and bring
Right.
it to this is what it means in the Bible. Maybe you'll now remember it now, because you know the song. It's the God in me. You know what I'm saying? But that's really what it is. Is that word in you, that spirit in you, that you know your mind ain't carnal, and it causes enmity between two different individuals, and it's like, man, you know what I'm saying? It's like they sitting there mad at you for what you doing, like your daughter. You know what I'm saying? And her other family or whatever, and how that played out. And they looking at her like she even. All she's saying is, I'm not dealing with a dead body on the side.
Dig it. Yeah.
It ain't you acting like, but it's not her that they hate. It's God and what He's saying that they hate.
Right.
But I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
So I mean that works. It's all relevant. So let's read this verse 9 to get in the spiritual aspect. Go ahead.
But ye are not in the flesh, but in the spirit.
So you ain't made the change, but you
Right.
in the spirit.
That's right.
Go ahead.
If so be that the Spirit of God dwell in you. Now, if any man have not the Spirit of Christ, he is none of his. And if Christ be in you, the body is dead because of sin, but the Spirit is life because of righteousness.
Read verse 14 to get right to the
That's
point.
Right to the point. Right.
For as many as are led by the Spirit of God.
And what do we see what was spiritual? In Romans 7 and 14,
law.
we read that the law is spiritual.
That's right.
So if you follow the law of God, that would make you what? Go ahead.
For as many as are led by the Spirit of God,
Or the law of God. Go
they
ahead.
are the sons of God.
See, but they don't say it make you no angel, do it?
No, that's right.
I call you a son of God. Let's see one more place. Let's go to 1 John
3. You know
5.
that's my boy. Oh, 5? Oh. You know that 1 John 3, my script.
Yeah, but we dealing with, we can read that. We
Yeah,
can read
yeah.
that, but this one is I like this one too.
1 John 5.
1 John 5 and 1.
Whosoever believes that Jesus Christ is born of God.
Wait a minute. If you love Jesus Christ, you born of God. So if you born of God, what that make you?
That make you a son of
That
God.
make you a son of God.
Straight up.
Go ahead.
Straight lace. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
And everyone that loveth him, that begot, loveth him also that is begotten of him. By this we know that we love the children of God.
Oh, see, we still talking about children, sons of God, right? Everybody's included, though. Mankind is included. You follow the Lord, you could be a son of God. By this we know that we love the children of God. How do they become children of God?
Right.
We already saw that you led by the Spirit of God, you could be the sons of God. Now he's getting a little more specific. Even though we know the whole law is good, he's just a little more specific here. Go ahead.
When we love God and keep his commandments.
We keep his commandments.
It's plain and simple.
Now, let's run back to Genesis, if that's okay. Run back to Genesis. Run back to Genesis. Run back to Genesis. Genesis chapter 5. Genesis chapter 5, or Genesis chapter 4, and verse 25. Genesis 4 and 25.
Okay, so before you do that, and we're
Oh, okay.
gonna
Got you.
go there. But before we do that, so Genesis chapter 6 is where we see the sons
Right.
of God. So Genesis chapter 1, and what I'm basically going to do is walk you to chapter.
Okay, you got it.
I'm going to walk you to where we are right here.
Yeah, word.
Genesis chapter 1 is the creation.
Uh-huh.
It covers the six days, and then when you get into chapter 2, it goes into the seventh day. And then it's because, he rested from all his work. And then after that, it goes into what he made. He had made man on the sixth day. This is the story, and he put him in the Garden of Eden. So first, it tells you the story of the creation. Then, as it goes to chapter 2, it tells you about this garden that he made for man, and that he put man there, and he told man, "Don't eat of the tree of good and evil."
Right.
Chapter 3
Right.
is about man now, this man that he created, Adam and Eve, and Eve was deceived by the serpent. And she took her deception over to Adam, and now they get thrown out of the Garden of Eden, and they are now away from the tree of life, which is what they were told to eat in Genesis chapter 2, which would have given them eternal life.
That's right.
Now, in hindsight of understanding, this was the way they was going to become sons of God.
Immediately.
Physically.
Right.
Physically become sons of God.
Like Enoch. Right.
Like Enoch.
Enoch.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay, so then chapter 4 shows that once they got kicked out, they began to do what they were told to do, multiply and replenish the earth. So they had two sons, Cain, Abel. Cain kills Abel. All right. So now we get into where this is all that's been going on in Genesis so far. Now we at the end of Genesis 4, so I'll read it and you can go with where you going with it. So I just kind of caught us up. And actually, before we get to verse 25, if we would have started 16, it just tell you, and Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod in the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife. So it begins to talk about Cain. After he killed Abel, it begins to talk about him and his children.
You can run it down, though. You might as well. You can run it down.
Because that's where it starts at. That's where this inheritance starts at. Right there with Cain. He gave him an option to do right.
Right.
You do right, and you be accepted. If you do wrong, then sin life at the door.
Right.
And you ought to rule over him, and he not rule over you.
Right.
So, right there, it's going to start right
So
there.
I'm going to start it at 16 and we'll walk down in
Go ahead, brother.
And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch. Not the same Enoch from another bloodline. We'll see that later. And he built a city and called the name of the city after the name of his son Enoch. And unto Enoch was born Irad. And Irad begat Mahajael. And Mahajael begat Methusael. And Methusael begat Lamech. And Lamech took unto him two wives. The name of one was Adah, and the name of the other Zillah. And that is not a good name. And Adah, Zillah. Then Adah bare Jabal. And he was the father of such as dwelt in tents, and of such as have cattle. And his brother's name was Jubal, and he was the father of all of such that handled the harp and organ. And Zillah, she also bare Tubal-Cain, and instructor of every artificer in brass and iron, and sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. And Lamech said unto his wives, Adah and Zillah, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech. Hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and the young man to my hurt. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold. And Adam knew his wife. Now this is where the brother was asking us to start reading. And Adam knew, so notice what it's doing. It's jumping all the way back to Adam again. It just ran down the family of Cain. And so now it's saying Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son, called his name Seth. For God said, she have appointed me another seed instead of Abel, who Cain slew. And to Seth, to him also there was born a son. His name was called Enos. Then began men to call upon the name of the Lord. So basically what we gather from that is, we just ran down right now, all the people that exist is Cain people, and then we got Seth people. And what we didn't find with Cain people in the story, they come from Adam and Eve, they wasn't calling on God. It gave you information about them too. Like my man say, well, I'll kill somebody like Cain killed somebody. So he making declarations, law, all that. But it don't say nothing about God up in there.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, the story goes to Seth, and he begins to call on the name of God. So this is the book of the generation, I just keep going, of Adam. So now the story is about to tell of the inheritance or of the people who call on the name of God.
True indeed. And let me say this too, brother.
Or the sons of God.
True
So
indeed.
this says, this is the book of the generation of Adam. In the day that God created him, in the likeness of God made he him. Male and female created he them. And he blessed them and called their names Adam. And in that day they were created. Adam lived 130 years and begot a son. So what's going on right here is going to run down all these sons. Enoch being in verse 21, and Enoch lived 60 and 5 years and begot Methuselah. And it run verse 28, and Lamech lived a certain amount of time, all the way down to Noah, and then it went into chapter 6. Well, what were you going to say?
All I was going to say is that Cain is never mentioned in Adam's genealogy after that.
Yeah.
Again, you know what I mean? Like never. So
Right.
It's a whole separate, just going along with you, letting you know where these sons of men come from. It's a whole separate genealogy.
So with that being said, going back to Luke chapter 3, and we'll read that real quick, and then we'll go back to Genesis, and then really I'm trying to I want Ira to show us on another note what angels look like. You know what I'm saying? Because like that's something you got to consider when you start talking about angels sleeping with people. Like people don't even comprehend. And sometimes angels can come in the form of man. But I just want we talking about fallen angels like they sleeping with people. Like, does that really make sense? But at any rate, so in Luke chapter 3 though, what happens is at verse 23. It's going to start running down Jesus' genealogy.
Yep.
Jesus himself began to be about 30 years of age, being as was supposed the son of Joseph. They say he was supposed to be the son of Joseph, but
Right.
he wasn't, because Jesus really is the son of God. He is God, which was the son of Heli, which was the son of Matthias. And it running all the way down in the chapter until you get to the end. Verse 38 says, which was the son of Enos, which was the son of Seth, which was the son of Adam, which was the son of God. So Adam daddy is God. So, like for example, let's take Smith. I don't know, Isaac Smith. It don't matter what Smith we take. But his son gonna be a Smith, right?
That's right.
And his son gonna be a Smith, right? So, and there 20 generations of men being born, they gonna all be Smiths, right?
That's correct.
Okay then. So you got God, and then you got Adam, and he's a God. And then you got Enos, and he's a God. All the way down, generation on top of generation, till you get to Jesus, who's the Son of God. Now I want to go to John 3 real quick. First John chapter 3. And so, we've established and agreed that angels are the sons of God.
Right.
But one of the things that Ira showed us there is that, look, you got angels, and then Satan ain't included as a son of God, though, just because it made a distinction to show you that Satan wasn't considered a son of God there. But now we're going to see, but we learning that men too can be sons of God. So Genesis 3, and it says, start reading verse 1.
Behold, what manner of love the Father hath bestowed upon us, that we should be called the sons of God. Therefore the world knoweth us not, because it knew him not.
Go ahead.
Beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it doth not yet appear what we shall be. But we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is.
Right, so he's saying, now are we sons of God, but it don't appear what we shall be. But we know when he appear, we're going to get like him. Because the prototype is actually Jesus. Jesus was born through Mary. He lived his life, and then he died, and he resurrected, and become a son of God. So, and you know what, Ira?
What's up?
We ain't even gonna mess with that Ezekiel.
About to say Ezekiel
You know what I'm
1.
saying? Yeah, I mean, and I say that because really, as I sit here and I think about what we've discussed, we're done.
Yeah, we don't.
I mean, we're gonna go back to Genesis just to bring it back, just to bring it home. But when I really think about it, you showed us that angels are sons of God, but not Satan. You showed us man is sons of God. Now all we gotta do is you also showed us the angels don't sleep with people. Now on that note, and since we in 1 John, let's go to chapter 5, I think. Yeah, chapter 5. 1 John chapter 5. Angels don't sleep with people. And what we could have done if we was going to do a whole lesson is to show you the dynamics of the difference between flesh and blood. See, if people can procreate with angels, or with spiritual beings, if spiritual beings got down like that, see, what we do, this is about mankind.
That's right.
Like God create, we procreate. If they could do that, then why did God just not sleep with one of his angels, sleep with some chick angel? You dig what I'm saying? And then therefore, he trying to make sons of God, which he gonna turn us to. Why he didn't just sleep with some angel? Why did he just make a woman then?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like create a woman out the ground, no Adam, create a woman, sleep with the woman, have kids, and then these are all my sons on the earth.
Like, was that the Mormon? Like the Mormon?
Yeah, like the more.
That's
So I mean, I'm saying when you really begin to comprehend what you're saying, that angels slept with men, think of the dynamic. So 1 John chapter 5, and let's pick it up in verse 7. Verse 6, I'm sorry.
Okay.
This is he that came by water and blood.
So Jesus came by water and blood. That's a trait that the fleshly beings, carnal, cartilage, carnage, you know what I'm saying? That's what we have.
Right.
Go ahead.
Even Jesus Christ, not by water only, but by water and blood.
Uh-huh.
And it is the Spirit that beareth witness, because the Spirit is truth.
Go ahead.
For there are three that bear record in heaven.
Go ahead.
The Father, the Word, and the Holy Ghost. And these three are one.
So in heaven, you got the Father, the Word, and you got the angels. And they one. They one tight. They one up there. They on one page. Now what you got on earth?
And there are three that bear witness in earth, the Spirit, and the water, and the blood. And these three agree in one.
Now on earth, they say you got water, blood, and spirit or breath. And these three agree in one. Brothers and sisters, that's what make you human. If I take away your water, if I take away your blood,
right,
or if I take away your breath, your spirit,
That's right.
you're dead. That's what makes you human. So with that being said, spiritual beings don't have that. When you become, that's what the difference. And if spiritual beings don't have that, then where the heck these angels gonna get some sperm at to make babies?
Right.
I mean, or better yet, where do they get the seed? You know what I'm saying? You know, sperm is a term scientifically that we learn. But I'm saying we know that the man got a seed. I hope you do know that.
Right.
And it goes into the woman and it fertilizes her eggs. That if they don't get fertilized on a monthly basis, they come out of her. That's what happened. That's what the cycle is. Okay. So them eggs on a woman, and we got to go do a little anatomy class up in here. And there's a seed in the man. And how do an angel have a seed? And if an angel has a seed, then what heck kind of being is that?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like what kind of being? So before we get back to Genesis 6 and wrap it up, is there anything y'all brothers want to add to this angels sleeping with men mythology?
Nah, that's about it, bro. I mean, it's impossible. I mean, it's improbable. When you have understanding.
All right. Yeah,
Well, I mean, again, you hit it on the head. I mean, they don't even get down like that. I hear them say, angels could, switch forms.
Yeah.
So that mean that's how they did it. Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to one. Let's just go to one. First Samuel. 1 Samuel 28.
Yep.
1 Samuel 28. 1 Samuel 28.
Yeah, I heard that too though. Like,
Right. So say they was like, oh, angel could have any form. So that's how they came as a man. And that's how they did it. Well, let's see. 1 Samuel 28 and 10. Go ahead.
And Saul swore to her by the Lord, saying, as the Lord liveth, there should no punishment happen to thee for this thing. And then the woman then said the woman, whom shall I bring up unto thee? And he said, bring me up Samuel.
Right, so this is a woman who had familiar spirits. She's dealing with evil angels or fallen angels.
Right.
Angels nonetheless, right? Go ahead.
And when the woman saw Samuel, she cried with a loud voice. And the woman spake to Saul, saying, why hast thou deceived me? For thou art Saul. Mm-hmm. And the king said unto her, be not afraid, for what sawest thou? And the woman said unto Saul, I saw gods ascending out of the earth.
Mm-hmm. Spirits.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And he said unto her, and what form is he of? And she said, an old man cometh up, and he is covered with a mantle. And Saul perceived that it was Samuel.
And Saul perceived that it was Samuel. So we see this got to be a fallen angel.
Yeah.
So you telling me because he looked like Samuel, he could go sleep with a woman? No, that don't change what he is. He's a fallen angel. Yeah. And that's just the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, no doubt.
So you can't try to use that as a means to justify your doctrine saying that these angels slept with women. That's just not.
Right, because if I'm following you right, what you're saying is, okay, one of the words that they used, she said she saw gods, which is what we own, which we comprehend and understand. She saw the spirits or the angels, because them the only beings.
Right.
And this one come, and he made himself look like Samuel. They perceived that it was Samuel. Right, we don't even know. But are we saying that this angel right here could have just slept with her right there on the spot?
Right.
Like, and had some babies. And I guess what they would have been Samuel kids.
Because he looked like Samuel.
Right, they would have came out looking like Samuel kids.
Right.
Like I mean, the nonsense of that theology.
Right.
The nonsense. So going back to Genesis. So, you know, what we did, we covered chapter 1, chapter 2. Chapter 3 was the introduction to Adam and Eve. Chapter 4 was Cain and Abel, and then we saw Seth and his children.
Which ties into that Romans 8, being led by the Spirit of God, making you a son of God, and living after the flesh.
Yeah.
That's death.
Yeah.
And we see Cain's seed, no mention of them getting across that water.
That's what you were saying.
Right. So that just ties into everything we've been running over. And you're going to close it out with this, I believe.
Then chapter 5, he runs into,
right,
you know, where he started at 4, which Art had us pick out. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son, called his name Seth. For God said, she have appointed me another seed instead of Abel.
That's it. That's the kicker. Right. To show you the difference.
Right.
Cain don't count no more.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
He's like, instead, like that. That's all. I mean, if you think about it, that's a cold statement. I gave you another seed instead of Abel, whom Cain slew. Like what about Cain? He here. He's like, nah, Cain slew this dude.
Right.
Then it says Seth, and to him also there was born a son. He called his name Enos. And then men began to call upon the name of the Lord. Then we run into that Son of God family, which when you looked in Luke 3, it showed us here these same people, same names, and it started here, this is the book of the generation of Adam, who is a son of God based off of Luke 3.
Right.
So these are the generations of the sons of God.
Right.
Then it says, in the day that God created him, it's almost telling you, in the likeness of God created, in the likeness of God made he him. If you take verse 26 and verse 1, it's telling you, so these are the sons of God.
Right.
It's telling you that Adam lived to be so old, Enos lived to be so old. So what happens is, we just sat here and covered, prior to getting to chapter 6, Cain's seed, which, let's just say he the son of the devil. And Seth's seed, which we would say he the son of God. Because Art showed us sons of the devil. You are your father the devil. All right. Now, and it came to pass, well, go ahead and read that for me, chapter 6.
All right. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw
sons of God, people who are led by the Spirit of God, or in the context of the book that we read it, sons of Seth. That's what we just finished talking about.
That's it.
Go ahead.
Saw that the sons of God saw the daughters of men.
Oh, now you are being a man of the world, or basically we could say these Cain
Cain
seeds.
children, right.
But really, it don't even have to be just Cain children. It's you saw the daughters of men. He's saying that the bloodline that I was trying to keep pure, and this other, like y'all was messing with chicks you ain't had no business messing with. You was being unequally yoked. It don't necessarily all the way 100% have to even be Cain kids. It's just saying like because if you ain't following the word of God, then you're not a son of God.
Right.
So and what were they doing?
Only 8 people made it across that water.
Right.
So.
We was going there.
That goes
we
right.
we running this all the way down to
Yeah.
the next story because that's the point. That Genesis is showing you how we got here. That's all it's doing. All right. So it said the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took them wives which they chose. What verse 3 say, Ira?
And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with men.
Wait a minute. His spirit, like he telling you something. Man ain't finna like man ain't finna be here like that. Go ahead.
And we're not striving.
For that he also is flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years.
Right, man finna be like he's still talking
Right.
about man. Man ain't not man now because before they was 900, 120. He cutting it like he's dealing with man right now, who actually they done mixed and mingled together right now. He looking at it from the heavens and he like, man, this ain't gonna work. Go ahead.
All right. Verse 4. There were giants in the earth also. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown.
Talking about the giants, like these people was they was popular. They was, I mean, and, you know, maybe they was tall. I mean, here's what you gotta comprehend. We starting off with Adam and Eve. If we get to Numbers and we see giants, they come from somewhere. They come from Adam and Eve. So now if all of a sudden, if Art have a son, him and his wife have a son, and he 7 foot tall, and we all 6 foot tall, I'm not even 6 foot tall.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, yo, that's like,
giant.
you know what I'm saying? And he's going to amaze us. Like what we do, we put him in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? We put them in the NFL. Like they amaze us. You know what I'm saying? Therefore, our entertainment. They're the gods, men of renown. Just that simple. Go ahead, read some more.
Verse 5.
Uh-huh.
And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth.
The wickedness of the angels.
The wickedness of man.
But angels just slept with men.
No.
They was the ones that did wrong. So it should say, and God saw the wickedness of the angels, because he about to kill mankind.
That's
now.
right.
For what the angels done did.
No, that's
Right,
not
I mean,
fair, God. He ain't fair like
right,
that.
but I'm just saying, but it don't even mention that.
Right, exactly. It don't make sense.
Like, so that's what I'm, like, just man, there's some
Fables.
logic to this. Right.
That's the
Go ahead,
fable
keep
right
reading.
there. And God saw the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually.
Go ahead.
And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth.
Well, but I'm saying though, the angels slept with people. Why you ain't mad at the angels too? That ain't fair.
Right.
Cause man, that's all we've been talking about is mankind.
That's right.
He looking down at mankind and he like, man, y'all tripping. Like it ain't hardly nobody left. Watch, keep going.
All right. And it grieved him at his heart. Verse 7. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man
Wait a minute, so he about to tell you who he gonna destroy, right? So he gonna destroy man. What else?
and beast,
Yeah.
and the creeping thing,
Uh-huh.
and the fowls
Uh-huh.
of the air.
And the sons of God. Like, do it say that?
No, I can't even say
Right.
that,
So
but-
then, basically, based off of this, it should be some more angels. If you saying that these sons of God were angels,
right.
it should be some more angels that make it pass. He ain't even killing them.
Right.
Go ahead, keep going.
All right. For it repented me that I had made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord.
Man, but he looked down. He seen Noah. I'm not gonna kill
That's
you.
right.
That's the end of the story, y'all. I mean, that's what it is. Like, it's almost sad that this is like a controversial.
Right.
Whatever. It's so simple. So, brothers and sisters, again, as always, it is our pleasure to, bring you this. We do this every month. We're going to start doing it on Thursday evening. We hope that you enjoy it. We know there's many other things you could be doing. But this out, you ready for some football? I know they got a football game coming on tonight. But look, we're going to try to get it in early enough so that we ain't going to cramp your style. So with that being said, brothers and sisters, I say peace from us brothers here. Israel Church of Jesus, man.
Stay away from the fables.
No, that's right.